Hi. So in this movie, I want to just cover how to set up an animatic in After Effects in case you want to use After Effects for the assignment 3 instead of Animate. Now, you might not be sure which one you want to use, and since you've had more training in Animate, and since I'm more versed in Animate as well, maybe you decide to go that way. But this is a good way of just checking and seeing if you'd like to work in After Effects. It's relatively straightforward and I think pretty fun. So I've got After Effects open here. The first thing I'm going to do is I just want to do a save as. I'm going to save this project out. And I'm just saving it to the same folder where my frames and audio are. So I'm going to go ahead and call it animatic. While I'm doing this, please watch the first 6 minutes of the first making an animatic with Flash or Animate video. Just the first 6 minutes. It walks through how to chop out the storyboard into individual frames, which you're going to want to do whether you're using Animate or you're using After Effects. So please make sure that you do watch that first 6 minutes. So again, I'm just saving into the same folder where I've got my frames and where I've got my audio. And I'm doing this just because a reminder that After Effects, when you import the stuff into After Effects, it still requires connections to all of the files that are imported. So you don't want to move any of the files after you import them. You don't want to rename them. So make sure that you'd still have a folder called audio, in this case, still have a folder called frames. All right, so I've got this animatic. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to define a composition. You have kind of this obscure window, and it's if you haven't used After Effects, it's a little daunting. You can make a new composition, but then you have to kind of choose all of these variables, or you can make a new composition from footage, which is what I'm going to do because we already saved out the frames as 1280 wide by 720 tall. So might as well just do that to create our footage. So I'm going to go ahead and click New Composition from Footage. And I'm going to back up. Notice I want to come back to, here's that folder that I just saved in. And I'm backing up here, and it's asking for different footage. So I'm going to come in and choose frames first. So let's come into there. I've got all of my JPEGs saved out. I think there's about 22 of them. Here we go. I'm just going to hold down Shift to select it. Notice that it says import as footage. I'm not going to create composition, so just import. Brings them in. You can see here's our bin, and it says okay, it's coming in as a single composition, which is fine. Use the dimensions. This is what I was talking about before, 720 or 1280 by 720. It's going to do that from the JPEG. And then it asks, how long do you want these stills to be up? And we'll start with 2 seconds. So as we're looking at this, the last 2 zeros here are in reference to frames. And then this is seconds, the next group here, and then this would be minutes, and this would be hours. So 2 seconds per is fine. And what's kind of neat is we can take care of some of the heavy lifting just by saying sequence layers. So what it's going to do is it's going to bring these in kind of a stair-stepped way. And we can let it do that. I'm not going to have it overlap. Down the road, you could choose to do that for other material. But right now, we just want to have a sequence of the storyboard going from the first frame out to the last. Okay, so we've got this. I'm going to go ahead and press OK. And you can see what it does is it automatically builds our composition for us, and it steps out each of these every 2 seconds just by that number, right? So it's really nice. This is why numbering your frames helps a lot because it just builds it all out real easily for us. So this gets us started, right? Now, what we want to do is I want to double check this composition because it made the new composition for us, but I also want to make sure it runs at the frames per second that I want. So I'm going to just double check by going to Composition, Settings. And in here it can tell us it. And I'm going to call this composition while we're here, animatic. You can see here's the information about width and height, square pixels. Here's the frame rate, so that's good. That's what I wanted, 24 frames per second. If yours says something else, you can set it to 24. You can leave it. I encourage you to think about using 24 frames per second for animation because it's easily divisible. If you're using 30 frames per second, it's easy to divide a second into a half, right? That's 15 frames. But once you get down to a quarter second, that gets more tricky. You're either 7 or 8 frames, right? Whereas when you're working at 24 frames per second, you can go down to 1/8 of a second and it still divides out. That's just 3 frames, right? So I encourage you to think this way for this. And it's also the frame rate for cinema down the road, but for right now, let's just leave it at that. You can choose a background color. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and pick white for a background color just because I might move around some of these images. But let's go ahead and just do that. And all that's good. Bring that back. Okay, good. So we've got it set up. Here's our composition. Notice that it has the composition name here. And we're going to actually build out, if you do this in After Effects, you would build out a couple of different ones. You'd build out a composition for the animatic, and then we'll take this composition and put it into the main composition that we'll do later for the animation. But anyway, our goal right here is to just kind of figure out how long we want stuff to be on screen. That's kind of the initial goal. So one thing you can do when you're starting this is you can just kind of look at each of the frames. You can see that this is by seconds. And I'm just going to kind of estimate how much I want to change. Now notice that as I'm doing this, it's adjusting it for everything here. And that's just because I have all of them selected. So I'm going to just click away and then come back for frame 1. Or layer 1, sorry. And when I do that, I'm going to just kind of guesstimate, right? Let's have it go for 6 seconds. The guy's talking on the phone. We kind of want to establish the scene. There's going to be some cars passing by. There's going to be some sounds. We just kind of want to get a sense for the scene. So once I do that, one thing I can do to stair step out the rest of these is just select the rest of the objects or the layers here and just drag, and it drags them all out. And I'm just going to kind of work on this. So as I come out, he talks for a minute, we cut to him stepping out into the street. Now maybe this lasts for a little more than 2 seconds, and again you can see I messed up, so I'm going to undo that, Control Z or Command Z, and come back here and move the next group out a bit. So let's move this a bit and maybe have him step into the street, and when he steps he comes out. It takes 3 seconds or something like that. Now again, I'm imagining this as an animated piece, right? So he's talking away, and then it cuts to him getting ready to step out, and he steps into the street, and I'm kind of imagining how long this will take. And 3 seconds is probably too long, so I might as well go ahead and bring that back a little bit. So you can kind of see the process here. Start on one side and then work your way out. As he steps out, there's a car that's going to honk at him, right? So it honks at him, and it's going to be pretty immediate. So for this honking portion here, let's have that be shorter than 2 seconds, right? Bring that back a little, and you can kind of see we just build this out. And then the next shot is him kind of realizing what's happening. And maybe this is okay. Maybe we're going to do this as a slow motion shot, right? So it honks and he's kind of realizing that he's made a mistake. So maybe 2 seconds is okay. There's going to be honking, screeching, and then thud, right? So the thud's going to happen, and this is going to be pretty quick. So we get that thud. And then the next shot here is him waking up and trying to figure things out. So let's move those guys in. And you can kind of see here, this is where we're going. So your goal for this phase of it is to just kind of stair step out your story to get kind of what you think you want for pacing. In the next video, I'm going to start applying audio, and we'll take a look at this thing fully, kind of realized, and make some other adjustments as well. But again, if you haven't watched that first making an animatic with either Flash or Animate, just the first 6 minutes of that to learn how to crop down your frames so that your frames are kind of a consistent, consistent width and height.